I believe it is time for me to take a more active involvement in your education, my friend. So many people ask me time to time, Joseph, how do you read? How do you read? Not saying that you can't read, but how do you cultivate the habit of reading? Now, there are twofold premises to the video. The first is to talk about the maintenance of mystery in the seduction phases of an early relationship, but I also thought I would layer in some of the practical tips and tricks I have in cultivating a reading habit. The first of which is to make it easy. Make the good behavior easy, make the bad behavior very, very difficult. That's from James Clear's Atomic Habits. So I constantly put myself in an environment where reading is easy. I'm sharing with you my Kindle in just a moment because it's on my screens, it's on my phone, it's on my tablets, it's next to my bedside table. In fact, there's books on my, I've got a little table over here. I've got books on that table, got books on that table behind me, and I've got a chair as well dedicated for reading. So there are so many stations, there's so many opportunities around my environment to pick up and read. The next thing is read what you like. Now, I'm very embarrassed to say that I didn't cultivate a habit of reading until I was 22 years old, and that was because I was reading the wrong books. I was reading these crime novels that my father used to read, Dan Brown and some other authors. And he would say, Joseph, you should read this very, very interesting, very, very compelling book. Just not my thing. Non-fiction is my thing. There are some fiction I like. There's some Stephen King that I like, don't get me wrong. But non-fiction was the one that really swung it for me. And it depends on the outcome that you are using to read. So if you're asking yourself or myself, Joseph, how do I read more? I would ask you, why do you want to read? What is the purpose behind your reading? Do you want to improve your vocabulary? Do you want to improve your lexicon? Do you want to read for understanding? Do you want to read for entertainment? Is there a particular outcome that you want? Once you find that out, then the activity usually becomes easy. The next one I would also give is use a highlighter. Use a highlighter if your aim is to read for understanding. Now, I digress because I know you want to get into the main crux of the video, so I appreciate your patience, which is maintaining mystery is a key element in keeping women attracted to you. And I think it's really important for me to double down on this idea, not just this idea, this truth that attraction is a feeling. It is not a reasoning. It is not a rationalization. It is a feeling in the body that you can invoke on somebody if you know how to pull the right strings. One of the key strings is maintaining mystery. So we give our credit to the author of Atomic Attraction, The Psychology of Attraction. It is the dim haze of mystery that adds enchantment to the pursuit. Now, when you first meet a woman, it is tempting to open up and tell her as much about yourself as possible. And while you might think initially you will be rewarded for your candid disclosure, you'll inevitably be punished later on for having given too much information too soon. You've shown your cards too soon. Instead, you must use the element of mystery and challenge to your advantage. You may have heard many, many times men and women say, I don't like the games he or she plays with me when you're going through your courtship. I'm sorry to say that games are part of the fun, my friend. Games are necessary to the polarity of attraction, the push, the pull. They are, in essence, an example of polarity, pushing, pulling, yin, yang, sun, moon, magnetism, attraction, polarity. That is how it's created. Giving away too much initially is too yang, it's too much, you're too available, you're not scarce enough for me. If you spend countless hours sending messages back and forth, texting and calling a woman, talking about your life, your dreams, and what you had for dinner and breakfast, you inadvertently kill the attraction by revealing too much information about yourself. And you can see here, guys, in my reading habit, I'm highlighting the pertinent pieces of information that I believe are conducive to understanding and also reasoning to that understanding. When you over-communicate, you not only risk revealing too much about yourself, you risk killing all the attraction by being too available and responsive. The word that is coming to me in this particular sentence is scarcity. Scarcity. Scarce objects, scarce people are more valuable. Why? Because they're unique. They're not available. They're rare, one may say. And wherever something is considered rare, the value is also considered complementary to that rareness. Regardless of whether or not you want to see a woman, it's also important and advisable to keep the calls and messages to a bare minimum. That doesn't mean you must act cold and distant, but it does mean that you should be aware of the dangers of over-communication. In the early stages of a relationship, it's important not to move too fast. There's a tendency to worry that if you don't get a woman out on a first date as fast as possible, she will forget all about you and move on. You must have the confidence in yourself to know that a woman won't be able to forget about you that easily. And now we have a very interesting case study about the availability versus mystery paradox with women in mind. Now, I have read this before. It is not particularly nice to hear. You guys are not going to enjoy this particular story. But it is a necessary red pill, a ugly pill that you need to swallow in order to recognize the value of what we've just spoken about, which is key to your understanding and key to you embedding action in your life. And this is why reading is so important, is because you need to reason it. You need to rationalize it. If I told you guys, you need to be more mysterious, you need to be more mysterious with women because being too available is gonna kill attraction, you guys will nod and say yes. But if you don't have the reasoning behind it, then you won't implement it. You won't integrate it and synthesize it into wisdom, which is taking a piece of information, right? Taking this information here and instilling it into your thoughts, into your feelings, into your actions, into your habits. So let's make this habitual altogether. Let's not mentally masturbate over this. So Ingrid was a successful, attractive businesswoman in her mid-30s. But because Ingrid worked so much, she rarely, if ever, had a chance to socialize. That was why she was so surprised when last week at a trade show, she met two attractive guys, Ken and Phil. Ken and Phil. Within the space of an afternoon, Ingrid felt this rush of excitement, that dopamine, as she left the convention center. She had forgotten what it feels like to be wanted, to be desired, let alone wanted and desired by two men at the same time. Goodness gracious me, Ingrid. On Sunday morning, Ingrid checked her phone and saw two messages, one from Ken and one from Phil. Both men asked, "How are you doing?" And Ingrid's response was telling them that she was heading out of town on a business trip for a couple of days. On Monday evening, Ingrid received yet another message from Ken. Ingrid and Ken chatted for 20 minutes before Ken said good night. On Tuesday morning, Ingrid received another message from Ken and a message from Phil. Ken said his customary good morning message, while Phil simply asked Ingrid how long she would be going away for. Ingrid responded to both of them before heading off to work. That afternoon, Ingrid received yet another message from Ken. Ken is showing his cards, my friend. They chit-chatted for 10 minutes before Ingrid told Ken she had to get back to work. Later that day, Ingrid received another notification, Ken. While she was in the shower, Ken told her how much he was looking forward to seeing her when she got back in town. On Wednesday morning, Ingrid received a good morning message from, guess who? Ken, but nothing from Phil. Ingrid had a quick conversation with Ken as she lay in bed, wondering briefly for a moment if she would ever hear back from Phil. Ken was a nice guy. He liked to share his day with her and seemed to be genuinely interested in what was going on with her life. Very, very considerate, Ken. Very, very nice. Words like acid in my mouth. Phil, on the other hand, gave the impression that he wasn't really interested in getting to know her. That's a shame, Ingrid thought. He was kind of cute. On the Thursday morning, Ingrid woke up from the usual good morning from Ken. Again, it's just a customary now. It's an expectation. There's no mystery. You're predictable. If you're predictable, by the way, you're easy to kill. Just a thought. They chatted for about 20 minutes before Ken invited her out for dinner on Saturday night. With no other plans, Ingrid said yes. And as for Phil, Ingrid hadn't heard a peep since Tuesday. Ingrid wondered if she would ever hear from him again. Maybe he was just being polite when he asked for a number. Maybe he wasn't interested. On Friday, Ingrid received a couple more messages from Ken. No surprises there. Ken told her how much he was looking forward to seeing her on the weekend. Then on Friday afternoon, Ingrid received an unexpected message from Phil. Phil, the Dark Knight, swooping in late, asking if she'd like to meet up for drinks on Saturday evening. Ingrid didn't know what to say. Ken had already booked dinner for the two of them. She couldn't just cancel on him now, could she? Ingrid couldn't quite put her finger on it. But here's the kicker. But she had the feeling that if she didn't see Phil on Saturday, she might never see him again. Scarcity, rarity. But she did know that if she cancelled on Ken, they could easily reschedule. There's a long history of predictability with this man. He's nice. He's nice. He's boring. After thinking it over for a couple of minutes, Ingrid decided to cancel her date with Ken and meet with Phil instead. Yeah. And although both men were attractive, Ingrid's intuition told her that out of the two men, Phil was more confident, high value. Intuition in this case turned out to be correct. I told you guys you wouldn't like that story, but that is the reality. That is the reality. Do not be predictable. The compulsive need to reveal too much information about how yourself and your feelings must be repressed. How can a woman find you mysterious when she knows exactly what you're thinking on a day-to-day basis? Wearing your heart on your sleeve and expressing your innermost feelings spoils intrigue and crushes desire. Less is more. Less initial effort, less initial investment, and less initial expenditure shows a woman that you're not actively seeking a relationship, and also that you're desirous elsewhere. Only a fool overinvests initially. This helps foster a more relaxed environment, an environment that is conducive to seduction. Instead of being relationship focused, you must keep the conversation light and playful. Tease a woman, have fun, and never take her or yourself too seriously. Keep her guessing, keep her on her toes. I know you guys don't like the game, but the game is, you can learn to love the game. Learn to love the game. That is, and I wouldn't even call it a game. It's the process of seduction. It's the process of creating attraction. What you're doing is, that's an intelligent way to describe it. It's not that you're playing a great game. It's that you're creating the emotion of attraction by being available and then unavailable, by pushing and pulling. That is how you create magnetism. That's negative and positive. The negative cathode, the positive cathode. The more time you spend talking to a woman, the more she gets to know you and the more comfortable and secure she'll feel in your presence. Your mission, however, is to remain slightly unknowable and mysterious in the early ages of the relationship. You should never allow a woman full access to your mind. The misguided belief that you should share your innermost thoughts and feelings is an illusion propagated by tell her all your feelings and she'll love you for it culture. This Disney culture. Many men have traveled this road before with disastrous consequences. All too often I see men open their hearts only to see how women respond with a lack of a loss of attraction. How could this happen? What happened to the wonderful connection that they both shared? The next time you think about opening up yourself to a woman, ask yourself this. What are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to achieve sympathy, understanding, reassurance, a sense of closeness? If that is the case, talk to your family, talk to your friends. You don't need her for that yet. You want to build attraction. Creating attraction is a phase in courtship, is a phase in getting what you want. Don't overlook the phase. Men of mystery are attractive because they understand that less is more and women need to be challenged. So really powerful reasoning in this particular chapter of this book. And I hope you synthesize this into a practical habit, especially that example on the difference between being Ken and being a Phil. You don't want to be a Ken. You want to be a Phil. You're far too busy as it is anyway, because you're far too high value as it is anyway. Creating videos, creating content, going to the gym, hanging out with your buddies, doing something productive. Be rare. You want to be a rare man. And as to reading, guys, make it a habit, make it fun, get your highlighters, get your Kindle, make it available, make it easy, make watching TV more difficult, perhaps. Bad example as I've got my TV in the background here, but again, the books outweigh the television real estate. These are not theories today, gentlemen, these are facts. Speak soon.